Hello and welcome to Pharma Television News Review here at AusBiotech in Melbourne in October 2010. On this show, I have Anna Lavelle, who is CEO of AusBiotech. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Fintan.
It's good to meet you again, Anna, because every year I come here to talk about AusBiotech. And things change in Australia. Things are changing, as they always do. Anna, for you and your organisation, what are the key issues that is facing AusBiotech, other than just simply, the lack of capital and so forth? We'll come on to that. What are the key issues?
Sure, I know last year we focused on the lack of capital because the global financial crisis was really hitting people everywhere, but certainly here in Australia. And one of the frustrations here is, of course, that we have trillions of dollars in superannuation funds, but they're going into US venture funds versus Australian venture funds. So you can imagine that the local companies here see that as an issue. As well as that, on the policy front, we have concerns that are outside of Australia, but certainly there's been some local activity on the gene patent area and also on taxation, the refundable credit that we've been trying to negotiate with the federal government for the last 2 years now.
So trying to shift policy is an important role for any organisation. Particularly on the tax credits. I mean, that's R&D tax credit, because that's fundamentally important, obviously, to companies that are innovative, who are still somewhat away from revenue. What have you done, and where are you now in the process of making sure you can get to that goal that you've set yourselves?
Okay, the 2 years ago, the 2008 May budget for the Labor government did away with commercial ready, which was a very important fundamental program for our industry. It was a dollar match program. Sure. And there was an enormous reaction. So we set about a campaign that set it up for the next federal budget such that there was some sort of replacement for that money. And we wanted three things. We wanted more money into venture capital funds, we wanted a replacement for ComReady, and we also wanted taxation reform. And we in fact won those arguments. There was 64 million put into venture capital funds. There was a replacement for commercial ready. It's called Commercialisation Australia. It's, in our view, not as good as commercial ready, but certainly a significant improvement on zero. And in terms of the tax credit, the government has in fact accepted the argument and have put forward legislation. Now at the moment that's stuck in the Senate because the opposition have decided to oppose it, to not support this legislation. And as you probably heard, we've had an interesting election here, federal election recently, where for the first time since the Second World War, we have a minority government. So the Labor Party supports the tax credit reform, and also the Green Party did support this, although now they have the balance of power, they're using their muscle to negotiate some changes. So it's going through that process now, and we're watching very, very closely because we see it as the correct policy for Australia. And yes, there are some drafting issues, but they're, for me, minor compared to the principle, which will give our companies that are trading in loss 45 cents for every dollar they spend on R&D, which is fantastic.
Right, and is normal in other territories, in other countries, to get that sort of level of tax credit.
Yes, that's true.
So it's important for a country which has a proven track record innovation to make sure the environment is correct. So that's what AusBiotech needs to do.
Yes, exactly right.
So just briefly go back to this other issue that you talked about, which was the patent issue, the gene patent issue. We don't want to go into too much detail there, but there's a fight. It's not just an Australian fight, it's a fight elsewhere as well.
That's correct. Aside from money, IP protection is the rock bed of biotechnology. If you can't protect your discovery and develop that with some lack of exposure to challenge, then really it doesn't justify the commercial investment. So there's a group of people, not only here but in the US, that are arguing that naturally occurring molecules, be they DNA, proteins or whatever, ought not be eligible to be patented. And certainly here the Cancer Council has put up a number of recommendations to the Australian Senate, and they have suggested things along those lines, and we're deeply concerned it would impact plant patents, animal patents and human patents, And also the claim is that even if the DNA is isolated and is changed in its form like it's a chimera, it still should not be able to be patented. And of course that is just an unsubstantiated and unsustainable situation for biotech.
Okay. Let's just move to, in fact, yesterday.
Yes.
Because we'll go back to money again, that old issue. But every year you try and get as many investors from overseas with investors here in Australia. And you have a number of companies present to those investors. How did yesterday go?
It was great. It was so good. I was very impressed. We're very excited. We had 150 investors, bona fide investors, all vetted, from 99 separate investor organisations, from angels through to investment bankers, VCs, pharma ventures, everybody was there. And 30% were offshore investors, which was also terrific. And we presented 39 Australian companies in one day. And the investors really like it because it's efficient. It means they can see a large number of companies in a very short period of time. It gives them an opportunity now at the conference to follow up with the companies they were interested in through our business matching program, and it works very efficiently for them and also for our Australian companies, so very happy.
Right, and that's basically what's important for this sort of convention, is to be able to get overseas people to come here as well. But I mean, it's nevertheless, and that's obviously a good day yesterday. The industry is still having it tough.
Yes, absolutely. And we see that the business matching has grown in popularity since we started it. As of this morning, we're 3,000 invitations sent to the delegates here for business matching. So that tells you that people are looking for partners, they're looking to show people what they're doing, they're looking for money, and they're doing it very assertively.
Right. And also now, one of the key things here in Australia is that Australia's got a strong history in biotechnology. It goes back to the very early days of biotechnology in the 1980s. Some people would say that to some extent, the industry's matured to a greater extent. So for you as the CEO of AusBiotech, looking at where you see your industry in Australia going, what are the key issues?
I think that at the moment the key message for overseas investors and partners is it's very good value for money here in Australia. There's nothing wrong with the quality, excellent quality, some very mature managers that have been in place now for over a decade and have learnt how to run an SME and have that experience and bear those scars, and that's very expensive education. So we do have the science, we do have the people, we do have the IP protection, we have the stability here, we also have a very good economy here that's weathered the global financial crisis way better than most of the rest of the world. We have full employment, we have very low inflation rate and good GDP, so it's a good place to do business. The issue is that some people that are looking for partners aren't necessarily aware of these features about Australia. So the important thing for us is to educate people that they need to take the time to have a look at what's available here, and they'll probably profit or benefit from that experience.
Anna Lavelle, thank you very much indeed for coming on the show.
Thank you, Fintan.